Tonight on Insight, going to China.
I don't think politics can necessarily be separated from the Olympics.
The whole thing about the Olympics is making it the truest, most purest form of sport at the elite level.
You cannot live in an Olympic and a Paralympic village without realising you're a global citizen.
I guess the bottom line for Beijing is that it promised a lot. It's delivered a lot. There's a long way to go, obviously.
One Olympic is not enough for China to change the human rights record.
It just does make you sad when politics and, sports sort of are mixed together.
And now, the presenter of Insight, Jenny Brockman.
Hello and welcome. In just weeks, our finest athletes will be competing at the Beijing Olympics. But what will they find when they get there? Concerns about pollution and human rights abuses are casting a cloud over the 2008 Games. Athletes and medicos are worried about the health impacts of pollution. And even IOC Chief Jacques Rogge says some endurance events may need to be postponed. The torch relay has attracted unprecedented protests about human rights abuses in Tibet. Accusations have flown on both sides that the Games are being politicised. But supporters say the Beijing Olympics will be a force for good. Tonight, we'll talk with Olympians, Chinese and Tibetan Australians, sports commentators and Green Senator Bob Brown. This against Beijing has been on human rights abuses in Tibet. When the Olympic torch passed through the capital Lhasa recently, one group of Tibetan Australians in Sydney was watching in earnest. Here's Lisa Main.
This is what Tibetan exile groups didn't want to see. The Olympic torch being carried through the regional capital Lhasa. Secretary who announced, "We will certainly be able to totally smash the splittist scheme of the Dalai Lama clique."
Dolma believes the...
Well, Dolma, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Can you understand why people want to, and athletes in particular, some athletes or the majority of athletes, want to keep politics out of the Olympics? Can you understand that?
I don't mind the Olympic. I'm no against the Olympic.
But you don't like the torch going through Tibet?
And they, the who live in the Chinese people, when the earthquake, so many people died. They know human rights. And Tibet, I don't like it all. They going to take the torch to the Tibet. I don't like. Why I don't like? In 2 months, from near the China and to Lhasa, how many people, 100,000 they kill it. How many people, it's continue they killing still. And then they go there, they just called some few Tibet people, I saw in the TV, they just push them.
So you didn't like the display? No. You didn't like the way the display around the torch relay?
No.
You're also a Tibetan exile, and your niece was arrested just weeks ago in Tibet for taking part in a protest for religious freedom. Where is she now?
She's 28th May in the morning, 10 o'clock arrested, and she and the other 2 nuns. And total monks, nun, lay people, 200 arrested.
Do you know where she is now?
No, not at all.
So since the 28th of May, you haven't been able to
And also some, my niece is on 2-3 weeks, but other families is arrested 3 months. There's still no information at all.
So how do you feel about the Olympics being held in China?
I think it's great. Really, China is how many people in the billions population, and I think that's coming and everything's improving. And I wish always pray success in Beijing Olympic. If the athletes, their motivation is the result and exercise so much, many years prepare to that result to go to Beijing, that's right. But if a human rights or something disaster, I must say something. Otherwise, I say I am a monk and religion, I don't care. Or athletes no care. And then how?
So you expect the athletes to say
Definitely
something?
say something.
Michelle?
I think what's challenging in the Beijing Games is that Beijing was actually awarded the Olympics with a promise that human rights would improve and that there would be greater media transparency in the country. And that hasn't really come to fruition. Now, I'm definitely one to talk about the unifying qualities of the Olympics and how inspiring that is and how beautiful it is, and to bring people from all different cultures and all different walks of life to China is fantastic, but it's been politicised because of what Beijing promised when it was awarded the Games.
Paul Monk, you've been vocal about this as well. You're a former intelligence analyst. You've written a book about China. What do you think about that argument? Have the Games been politicised already by China itself?
The Games are a very political event for the Chinese Communist Party. We have to distinguish between China and the interest, compassion, brotherhood we might feel for the Chinese people, the interest we have in Chinese culture, and the political agenda of the Chinese Communist Party. Make no mistake, the party intends to hang on to power. Its human rights record is appalling over the long run. And at the moment, although there are statutes on the books under the Chinese Constitution guaranteeing rights to freedom of religion, of speech, of assembly, you know, of the press, and even supposedly up to a point property, none of those, in fact, are defensible when party officials choose to violate them. None of them. There is no source of redress outside the party. That's what's at stake when we talk about human rights in China.
So should the Olympics be being held there?
It's not a case of if China is pristine and everything's fine, we should have the Olympics there, and if there are things that are wrong, we should not. The Olympics are about setting the bar high, but we should be under no illusion as to what the agenda of the Communist Party is in this. They're holding their banner high.
Bob Brown in Hobart, you've been very vocal in your criticism of China over Tibet, but hasn't the Beijing Olympics actually helped to shine a light on the situation in Tibet?
Well, it's had more of a light shine on it, but what's been the result? Tibet is at the moment as jailed and as suppressed as it's been for many a long year. And where's the world where's our own Prime Minister who spoke about the Australian people's concern for Tibet in Mandarin in Beijing just a few weeks ago, but now he's going to be sitting next to Hu Jintao, who presided over the last slaughter in Lhasa in the late 1980s. Well, he's going to be sitting next to him, or close to him, and in the same rank in the stadium at the opening ceremony. And I think really he should have made a stand and said, either you get together with the Dalai Lama, come on, let's face up and have some constructive dialogue about the plight of 7 million Tibetans, or I'm going to encourage the Australian team and the athletes to go to compete with the other athletes who are free of bloodstains and free of repression, but not with you.
So, Bob, do you think that athletes should be going to the Games?
Oh, yes. They didn't choose. They didn't make the political decision to have the Games in Beijing. And I'm totally behind the athletes going to the Games. But I'm not in favour of our politicians then going and kowtowing, effectively, to the bullies and the thugs who are in government in Beijing. You know, they repress any other political party. They only have single-party elections, much like Mr Mugabe in Zimbabwe, but there's a total different approach because of our trading arrangement. And money and power here must not be allowed to simply put aside the human considerations we have for the right of Tibetans to be free, to celebrate their own religion, and to have their rights restored.
Melinda Liu, when China won the bid to host the Olympics back in 2001, it did promise, albeit vaguely, to improve human rights and media freedoms. Do you think it has?